In addition, one of our major roles is actually human resource management. The following are HR matters that we deal with. We are talking about appointments. Appointments can either be on 12 months probation, on temporary month-to-month terms, on contracts. Then we have confirmations. Confirmation comes into a play when someone has been appointed on 12 months probation. After a year, you are confirmed in appointment. The third point, which is appointment to the permanent pensionable establishment, relates to the TMTM, which is the temporary month-to-month terms. Once you are appointed on temporary month-to-month terms, usually for 1 year in the first instance, you are then appointed to the public permanent and pensionable establishment a year or two later and confirm an appointment. The fourth human resource management function is transfer and secondment. The difference between transfer and secondment is a transfer is from one ministry's head to another ministry's head. For example, the Ministry of Public Service is head 5. And if someone in the Ministry of Public Service wished to transfer to another government ministry, they would transfer from head 5 into that other ministry, whether it's 046, head 12, whatever the head is. And that means that your personal emoluments, your salary and everything goes to the other ministry. Secondment, on the other hand, is it's a form of loan. It's where an officer's services is loaned, and it's normally to a quasi-authority. So you would be seconded, for example, to PHA or National Insurance Board for a period of 2 years. The maximum year of secondment should not exceed a certain period. So this is actually a loan of an officer's services to another agency. Then we have the 7A increment. A 7A increment is usually for any degree or certification that is exceed 6 months or more. A 7A increment is based on your incremental value. For example, if you are in a clerical scale, your incremental value is $600. If you are in middle management or a scale where you receive 700, then your incremental value would be 800. So once you have completed a particular certification or degree, you would get a lump sum payment of $600 or $700, wherever your incremental value falls. The sixth point, which is reclassification. Reclassification is not a promotion. A reclassification usually happens to an officer who, for example, is a janitrist or someone in M6 scale, and they got the additional qualifications, and so they would go into another scale. To determine what a reclassification is, it should be to a scale whose increment value is less than 2 increments at the max of the scale. It's a little complicated, but after a while you get kind of try to figure it out and you'll know what it's all about. But it's not a promotion, because you don't get a full increment. You only get a full increment on promotion. A reclassification is either add the same salary into another post, or an incremental value less than what you currently receive. Then we have promotions. A promotion is basically what I spoke to just now, where you would go into a higher post, a higher scale, and your salary would change by a full incremental value, whether it's $600, $700, $800, or if you're lucky, you're in a scale where you get $1,000 increment. Then we have in-service training award. In-service training award is a benefit that public officers are afforded, and this way you can get training and you can go to colleges or wherever you decide once it's recognized by the government and it's at a BA or above degree. You can get an in-service training award for salary only, or you can get a full in-service training award. That will be discussed in my next presentation. I will go into full details. Then, of course, we have the extension of probationary period. The extension of a probationary period is actually for persons who have adverse performance appraisal reports. These persons during their probationary period would have either had poor performance, they would have, or poor punctuality and attendance. So the respective ministry where you are posted would recommend that your probationary period exceed the 12 months that you are currently on. So instead of being confirmed after 12 months, you would be asked to be extended for an additional 12 months. So you would actually be on probation for 24 months or 2 years, wherever the case might be. The final three, we have acting appointments. And while I say the final three, this is not all that public service do. There's much, much more. But I just selected these 14 functions or management of public service. So we have the acting appointment. Acting appointment comes into play usually at a department head or PS level or a statutory post, which means that as a clerk, you can act for a clerk or for a chief clerk, or where you can act for that. It has to be the head of department if it's a statutory post, or it has to be a permanent secretary. So an acting appointment is actually, again, where the substantive whole of the post, or for example, I am the head of that department and I go on vacation leave. So we would have another senior public officer who would act in my stead. And if there's a difference in salary, so forth, that would be calculated based on the scale that I am currently in. Meaning if my salary scale or my actually salary is higher than the officer who's coming to act for me salary is less than my salary scale, they would get paid the difference in salary. Then we have reemployment. Reemployment usually affect certain categories of public officers. For example, we have teachers who we call expat or foreign teachers. They are reemployed either on a 2-year or 3-year contract. We have the Bahamas Department of Correctional Service officers. Once they would have retired at a post lower than a sergeant, they can be rehired for additional 10 years on reemployment. And so those are the type of reemployment we're talking about. Then we have disciplinary matters. Disciplinary matters speaks to, again, adverse performance appraisal. Anything that you would have earned you an adverse performance appraisal, you would actually either get extended probationary period, you can get reduced in salary, you can get reduced in post, you can be issued a show cause letter asking why your services should not be terminated. So those are the type of disciplinary matters that is addressed in our disciplinary unit.